Intercultural Learning series. In today's video, we're going to be looking at building intercultural competence, an important step for any of us working with colleagues in different locations or with diverse backgrounds. When we think about competence, we want to understand that people are not born interculturally competent. It's something that we learn and grow over time. Similar to any competence, if you think about life competencies such as cooking or running, or work competencies like writing or giving feedback, we learn how to do these things and we become better over time. Working interculturally is similar. It's something that we learn to do and we become better with it as we advance with more practice. To understand this more fully, I'd like to share a situation that we encountered recently working with an overseas division of a Chinese internet company. They had been working together and felt that they were struggling to localize the requirements of their customers based on programs and support that have been provided from China headquarters. Let's take a look at what these employees had to say about the situation that they were facing. We have lots of challenges at our division with localizing services for our market, and often it feels like our requests aren't being heard. Headquarters is very slow to reply to our requests, and we're not always given the resources that we need. It's hard to localize with what we have to work with. I really feel like they should be more responsive or listen more to our requests and the information about our markets. We often get briefs to share with our customers here with solutions provided to Chinese companies, but it's very different markets. Our customers are established MNCs with different needs than companies in Shanghai and Beijing. We get a sense that there's something that's just not quite clicking with this team. The teams at headquarters and the teams overseas just aren't communicating properly. This is where we can begin to analyze the problems with intercultural competence. For us to really do a good analysis, we first want to have a good working definition. Let's look at our definition of intercultural competence. We define intercultural competence as the ability to appreciate and adapt to your own and others' worldview to improve your personal, team, and organization's performance at work and in life. We do this with 3 skills: how we identify, understand, and adapt culture. When we look at identifying, we're looking at the ability to recognize that culture is impacting a situation or behavior and prepare to understand and adapt. The second aspect, understand, we're looking to remove or reduce our bias to understand the reasons why we understand a situation differently from others. And finally, when we adapt, we choose a way to resolve the issue by finding a new and appropriate way to address differences and their impact. When we have this definition, and we have these 3 parts, we can begin to more effectively analyze cultural conflict or cultural issues that we may be facing. In order for us to more deeply understand this, let's take a look at how this competency develops over 5 sequential stages. As we see, there's 5 distinct stages of development, and anyone developing in this area will go through this same sequence until they've arrived at the maximum of their competency. The first 2 stages, denial and polarization, we often address as monocultural stages, in which we make evaluations from our own cultural norms. The middle stage, minimization, has a little bit of this monocultural mindset, but is beginning to make connections with others. And the final 2 stages we call intercultural development stages, in which we see things from our own cultural perspective, as well as the perspective of others. If we want to understand them more deeply, let's take a look at what we've called monocultural, minimization, and intercultural. Looking at monocultural stages, we see something that we have in common with both denial and polarization. When we consider how they identify, understand, and adapt, they do these 3 elements through only one cultural perspective. Other people might say they feel ignored or uncomfortable working with these colleagues. Often, the solution for colleagues at monocultural stages is to try to assimilate others into their way of working. This, of course, is not an ideal situation in a multinational or in a global company. Let's look at where most people operate, which is in minimization. As we said before, most people, roughly 50 to 60% of people in multinational organizations are at this stage. It's a transition stage that identifies cultural differences, but often underestimates the impact of those differences. This can lead to people around them feeling unheard or misunderstood. Because people or teams successfully use multiple cultural perspectives, we usually say these groups are bridging cultural diversity. When we think about these 5 different stages in our definition for intercultural competence, we have some pretty powerful tools to analyze the case we just looked at. Looking back at our case, we can certainly see how our overseas colleagues are using a lot of polarized language. This is what headquarters does. This is what we do. We, us language, these black and white choices are often examples of polarized language, and what we would like to do to address that is to build up towards later stages. At the same time, we might take a look at how they feel about their interactions with headquarters. You'll notice that when working with headquarters, they say, we feel like we haven't been heard. The solutions that our customers need are different, and when we ask for that, it doesn't feel like people are responding. We can probably do a little analysis that the people at headquarters, much like many people in multinational organizations, are probably operating from minimization. So in order to operate better within the marketplace, to collaborate better with the team, we'd want to give them the suggestion we give to anybody building a competence, which is to move one step up. Let's take a look at the guidelines we suggest for this. When we want to move one step up, we want to develop by improving our current level and focusing on the next step. Let's use an analogy for this. If we were going to be running a race, for example, we would want to start with how far we can currently run. Maybe we can only run 100 meters. To get ready for a 200-meter race, we'd want to be good at our first capability step, that 100 meters, and then push for the next level. So for our colleagues working in the US or overseas offices, we'd probably say, let's build from polarization and move towards minimization. Let's find common ground. What do we feel that we have in common with our colleagues with headquarters? Maybe we all want to delight our customers and we all want to make them happy. For our colleagues at headquarters, we want to remind them that they too want to move a step up. Maybe that's by better understanding the marketplace, better understanding customer needs, and helping to respond in a way that shows that understanding to their colleagues working in the US. So strategies to build that team sense for colleagues operating overseas and that understanding of markets for colleagues here at headquarters would be critical for this organization. So when we begin to think about intercultural competence, we can see that it has a broad range of application. There are 5 areas that we might find that really benefits us and our teams. Let's take a look at these 5 key areas. These include working with our intercultural or diverse teams, making sure that we can meet our customers' needs and requests from different areas, working with vendors and suppliers who have different working styles, understanding markets and consumer behaviors different from our own. And our 5th point is family, working across generations, genders, or even locations. So we want to continue to build our intercultural competence. We now know we want to go one step at a time, and we understand more about the sequential order that develops. Let's take a look at our checklist today as we wrap up this video with 3 things for us to identify, understand, and to adapt. First, we want to identify what's our current point of view. Are we seeing things from one cultural perspective or more than one? Second, we want to understand what's the reason another person might have a different background or experience things differently from us. Finally, as we adapt, we want to find a way to move closer, both in our mindset and behavior, to help bridge the gap between ourselves and others. We want to be staying open to trying new things. We hope that you found this video useful and informative, and you're ready to go out and continue building your intercultural competence. We look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye!